Hello, you've reached the Storied Human podcast, hosted by me, Lynn Thompson. Each week, I share a story, either an interview with someone fascinating or a short solo from me. I love your stories, and I learn so much from them. Hopefully you will too. So welcome. If you are new here, I'm so happy to have you. If you are a returning listener, many thanks. So here it is, the next episode of The Storied Human. Hi, and welcome to The Storied Human. I'm Lynn Thompson, and this week I have an incredible guest. I found him sort of by accident. I was so lucky. We're on the same Facebook podcast group, and his story just got to me. His name is Sonny Von Cleveland, and his story is amazing. He speaks to the power of the human spirit for me. I mean, I just got that so clearly. He overcame so much to get where he is now. He's a childhood sexual abuse survivor who spent 18 years in prison and became a speaker, author, mentor, and mindset coach. So welcome, Sonny.
Thank you so much for having me.
So good to have you.
It's a pleasure.
Where do we start? I've heard you tell your story a couple times. I guess just bring us a little bit up to speed, like a little bit about your background.
I mean, it's so vast that
I know. It's hard to boil down.
I find myself often at a loss when it comes to podcasts because I mean, there's so many different avenues, and I could chew up 4 hours of your time. But basically, I grew up in Carson City, Michigan, Crystal, Michigan. It's just these little podunk towns in the middle of nowhere. And it was, I had a pretty rough childhood. Around age 5, I started being molested by my uncle. And then over the course of the next 5 years, 3 other men decided to join the party. And I was just kind of a pass-around toy for men. And it was, as I look back at it, it's pretty tragic. And, a question I'm often asked is, how do you still talk to your parents? And I just met my father. I mean, not met, but I just got in contact with him after, 30 years or whatever it was. But my wife actually found him on Facebook and was like, I think this is your dad. And so I just reached out and I'm like, what up, Pop? And that was the first time we talked since I was 15.
Oh my gosh.
We just picked up like nothing had ever happened and got to talking like old chums. And as far as my mother goes, I communicate with my mother. I tell her that I love her. But as I look back at it, first of all, I hold no resentment. I am a habitual forgiver, right? There's no point in holding resentment toward anybody because that does nothing except make my soul suffer. So there's no point in holding a grudge for anything. And I keep my mother in my life because I also see life through the lens of kindness. Kindness is my first approach for everything. And while if the roles were reversed, if one of my children were to be molested, I promise you they would never happen twice. I would lock them in a basement if I had to and chain them up to the wall if necessary.
Yeah.
But the oversight from me would be hyper. I would be hyper vigilant.
Right. And you wouldn't be afraid to look. Like I think
right.
Some people are just afraid to look.
And so I can't explain how my mother didn't know or overseen that I was being molested by all these men. But I don't hold a grudge for it. There's no point. I don't even hold a grudge against the dudes that did it because
That's
you
amazing.
Created who I am. And so I'm thankful. I'm actually thankful that you did that because I feel my purpose on this earth was to endure these things so that I could help other people get past them. Everybody has a calling and a purpose. And I honestly feel this was my purpose in life. So I endured that. At the age of 7, I was convicted of a felony. I broke into a church and stole some pudding cups and playing cards out of a basement of a St. Mary's Cathedral. And I was charged and convicted of a felony for breaking and entering in 1988. And
I didn't know they could do that to 7-year-olds.
I didn't know they could either. In fact, I'm trying to research it, but I think I might be the youngest convicted felon in Michigan history.
Oh my God! But they give you. I did read that they gave you parole, like several. I mean,
I was on probation, right? Times. They gave me 60 days probation, and it had the reverse effect from what anybody would have anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
what happened was, when it happened, all the men that were molesting me left. They all went away, right? Because I assume because they didn't want the attention of the police, right? And so in my young mind, here are men that don't want to hurt me. They want what's best for me. You know, they're telling me, be a good kid. Don't do this. Be a good kid. And they don't want to touch me. They just want to help me.
Yes.
And so I fell in love with the attention from the police. And I'm like, okay, if I get into trouble, they'll come around and these men will leave. So I caught the worst ass whooping of my young 7-year life from my mother when I caught the felony. And she, out of fear, I didn't know what else to do. Now, all these men obviously threaten my life. They'll kill me. They'll kill my mom. They'll hurt my family. And my uncle especially, because I remember, I vividly recall telling my uncle, I don't like this. I don't want to play this game anymore. And he said, this is what special people do. I love you. And this is how special people treat each other. Besides, if you say anything, I'll have to hurt you. I'll have to hurt your mom. I'll have to hurt our whole family.
Oh my God.
And when, out of fear of getting whooped even more because I caught a felony, I told my mother what was happening. And she broke down crying. She called the police. It ultimately led to my uncle being put in prison for 15 years.
Oh my God. Thank God.
And his threat came to fruition. It hurt my mother. It hurt my family. It hurt everybody in my family. My family broke apart. Half of our family blamed me, said I was lying. And so there were no more family holidays. There were no more get-togethers at grandma and grandpa's house with aunts and uncles and cousins. And I took that on myself. I said, this threat came right. This threat was true. And so then the next 3 men that were touching me, I didn't say anything. Here's in my 7-year experience, this is what happens when you tell on them. My uncle goes to prison. The rest of my family hates me. I don't get to go to grandma's house no more. And when we do go to grandma's house, it's just me and my brother and my mother. No other families there. And I was overwhelmed with shame.
Yeah, 7-year-old can't handle any of that. Right.
Right. And so I just kept it to myself and kept breaking the law because that was my only source of protection. And by the time I was 15 years old, I had 10 or 11 felonies on my record. And the judge was sick of it and bound me over to adult court. I had stolen some money from a high school safe, and the new judge in the adult court sent me right to jail. 6 months jail. You're going to jail. And while I was there, I was charged. It was crazy when I look back at it, but the first thing I did when I got into the drunk tank was chip my name into the wall. And they charged me with a felony for that. Malicious destruction of state property over $100 for the labor and the paint that it would cost to repaint the whole cell. And then I had stolen a pedal bike. I had broken into a house, and I had a stolen cell phone on me. And all 3 of those charges with the new destruction charge came up. And to my utter shock and amazement, the judge sent me to prison at 16 years old and gave me 2 to 5 years. And I remember standing there like, are you kidding me? Like, I've never even been to juvie. I've never been locked up in my life. All I ever got was probation, and you're sending me to prison? And now in my young mind, all I remember is Shawshank Redemption, Bad Boys, the Hollywood prison movies. And I'm like, I am in some serious trouble.
Oh, it's horrifying, right? To think about.
Yeah. And so that was solidified. When I went to prison, I was raped by 2 men the first week that I was there.
Oh my God.
I was a young, long-haired, skinny white kid at 16. And I snapped. Something snapped in me, and I grabbed some pencils and I ran across the hall and I stabbed one of them. And that started a very bad trajectory in my life because everybody saw that, but they didn't know why. They didn't know that these guys had just ran into the cell and raped me during chow. And I obviously wasn't going to tell anybody. But so they thought that I was this psychotic, crazy white dude that will stab.
Oh no!
And so the gangs came in and immediately started to recruit me. We hit the level 4 yard. I had made the decision in my life at that point that I was no longer going to be a victim. And so I I fell in love with the attention from the gang immediately. It was like brotherhood, family protection, all the things that I was craving. I'm in. I covered myself in tattoos as quickly as I could. I didn't even care what I got, just give me tattoos. And I became a habitual stabber. Like I stabbed everybody. If you looked at me wrong, if you weren't part of my gang, you were fair game, right? And
yeah, it sounds like you had a reputation to uphold.
I developed that rep because that was protecting me. And
well, it makes a kind of sense. Yeah,
right,
it does.
In my mind, I developed such a dangerous reputation that you don't met, because if you do anything wrong, I will poke you and you're going to know it. And here we are. We're 2 years into this bit, and they opened the first ever privatized youth correctional facility in the United States. And it was called Wackenhut, or the company was called Wackenhut, and it was in Baldwin, Michigan. And they sent me to this prison, and it was staffed by a bunch of local people that were not trained. I mean, we had 18, 19, 20-year-old kids that were fresh out of high school that wanted to be police officers or whatever, but for whatever reason, got employed by this private facility. And at this time, we had already done 2 years in the penitentiary. We were seasoned criminals.
Oh my God.
And the place was an absolute bloodbath. A week into it, they didn't know what to do. We're like, yo, what's up with our yard, man? You got to let us out for yard. So not knowing what to do, they just opened all the doors in all the units and let the entire prison out onto the yard at the same time. What do you think is going to happen?
Oh my God.
Immediately, it was a gang territorial fight. Immediately.
Oh my God.
People are staking claims. We're staking claims in the laundry, the commissary, the barbershops, the kitchens. All the gangs are now fighting for privilege in this facility. And it was a freaking war zone. It was a bloodbath. And then they shipped all the 12, 13, 14, 15-year-olds from juvenile and put them in with us. What do you think that's going to do? Right? We immediately were preying on these kids. And this place was just a war zone. Within 3 months, this place is out of control. It's the most violent penitentiary in the state of Michigan.
Oh my God.
Most assaults on staff, most assaults on other inmates, more rapings, more stabbings. It was horrendous. So they locked the facility down and brought in the big boys from like Virginia in the Department of Corrections, locked the facility down, and then they started to exact their revenge on us. They took us to the hole. I remember being shackled to the shower and beaten by several COs.
God.
They would drag us out of the cells during a cell rush because we weren't innocent. We were bad people. We would put cover up our doors, tell them we're going to kill ourselves, so they have no choice but to do a cell extraction. They have to pull you out of the cell. And we would get butt naked and put water and shampoo all over the floors and cover ourselves in shampoo and baby oil. And it's a fight, right? You are not just going to come in here and take me out.
You're not going to take me.
Right. And our goal was to get out of the cell. If you get out of the cell, you have 9 grown adults with a riot shield and riot gear, and I'm a butt naked 18-year-old. If I get out of this cell, I win. And so that was the goal. And they would open the slot and just tear gas the crap out of you, and you would go out, and they would then hog tie us. They would chain us in behind our backs, carry us outside into the dog kennels, and throw us out into a snowbank and leave us out there for 6-7 hours. They would they would come out and dump a bucket of water on us and kick us just to make sure we're alive. I lost this tooth over here because he came up, just kicked me in the side of the face to make sure I was alive.
It's horrible. There's no oversight, and most of you were so young.
It was so bad. There's actually been $80 million in payouts from lawsuits, and I didn't even know this until my wife started to research it, and she's like, "Oh my God, there's been documentaries on this place."
It's really that bad. I heard it might be part of that because it's private. There's incentive to send people to juvie, and so there was like a little business. The judges would.
That's the state of the Department of Corrections. Period. In the United States, it is modern day slavery, and it is a cattle farm, and that's all it is. I think private prisons are the dumbest idea ever because they're even worse, right? And if you look at it even from a business perspective, the recidivism rate is 77% in this country. What business do you know can fail 77% of the time and is still a business? Like, are you kidding me?
It's insane, right?
It is insane.
I talked to a woman in California, and she's a lawyer who found her life's work, which is to help people when they get out, because there's nothing for you when you get out. You're just kind of dumped out there with a little bit of money. And they're doing really good work. And yeah. I became really aware of how ridiculous it is, right? The whole thing.
And I was a victim of that. So I'm on both sides of the spectrum. So after the 2 year of torture in Baldwin, I spent another year back in the Michigan Department of Corrections, where I was trained to be even more of a gangster. And when I was 21, they opened the doors. No parole, no probation. You're done. Here's $75 and 3 condoms. Good luck.
See ya.
And I robbed somebody the first day I was out at a gas station at knife point. And I then learned to rob drug dealers because it was a very lucrative enterprise. And in my mind, what are you going to do? You're going to call the cops, tell them I stole your drugs? Turns out that's illegal. But
oh my God.
I got 2 women pregnant. I was out for 20 months. I ran the streets with no conscience, with no soul, with no caring. I was a greedy, self-centered, borderline narcissist human being because that's how I had been raised. I had put on masks for so long that I forgot how to take them off. I didn't know how to be anything other than what I was. And so in 2004, I was sent back to prison for 12 years. And in 2008, I discovered that my brother, who I had worshipped most of my life, was having an affair with the mother of the oldest child that I had. And her and I were together, and she was bringing up my son to see me every week. And we were building a family here. And I had decided that I was going to try to be a better human being. I'm still going to be a gangster, but I'm going to be an honorable gangster. And this was my twisted thoughts. And then in 2008, I didn't talk to her for a couple months, which was very not like her. And so when I did get a hold of her, I'm pregnant, and it's your brother's kid, and he is going to raise our son as his own, and he doesn't think that you should be calling anymore.
Oh my God.
And I mean, it broke the last semblance of hope that I had for any type of normal life. I, at that point, determined that I was not worthy of love. I was not worthy of a family. I was not worthy of nice. My purpose on this planet was to be karma's enforcer. I was simply sent here to enact karma on people. And that's how I justified my behavior. I was a torturer of pedophiles, and on a horrible level that I won't even get into.
But people understand that. I mean, that's something people understand.
Well, they do, but it still takes.
But it's not the best way, right?
Sick type of human being to be able to do some of the things that I've done.
It's still the activity that you're part of, right? Now, your brother betrayed you at such a deep level, and there you are stuck in prison. I can't imagine.
Yeah, well, unfortunately for this young gangbanger from Flint, he decided to come in and make a name for himself and ran into my cell and stole all my stuff. And so I took all of my anger and aggression out on him, which landed me an extensively long stint in the hole. And so as I go into the hole, I'm wiping blood and pepper spray from my face in the sink, and I hear this guy, "Hey, white boy, come talk to me."
That's the name of your book.
I got to cussing this man out. I'm like, "Shut up, man. Don't effing talk to me, man. Who the F are you talking to, bro? Do you know who I am, bro? I will kill you, man. Stop talking to me, bro." "All right, man. Well, you're going to come talk to me at some point. We're going to get lonely."
Oh. And let me just clarify for people that, I'm sorry, for people that might not know, the hole is solitary confinement, right?
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So he kept calling over, "Hey, white boy, come talk to me." And I would cuss him out. And so a week later, I was taken down to see the Security Classification Committee, and they gave me 60 months in the hole in solitary confinement. So 5 years for what I had done to this guy. It was not pretty. And so now I'm like, well, all right, I only got 8 years left to go. So 5 of it's going to be sitting in this cell. Awesome. And then I got back, and he called over again. "Hey, white boy, what they give you, man? What happened? What happened?" And I got in the door, and I'm like, "Dude, what, man? What do you want to talk to me about?" He said, just tell me this. Why are you so angry?" What the kind of question is that? because I'm in prison. My life sucks. You won't shut up. There's a lot of reasons why I'm.
How much time do you have? Yes.
Right. And he said, no. That's why you mad. Mad is on the surface.
Yeah.
Anger runs so much deeper. You are an angry young man. And I was at a loss for words. I had no idea how to respond to that. And over the course of the next 19 months, this Muslim man changed my life.
It's amazing.
He taught me self-forgiveness and self-awareness and how to process emotion and how to look at life through a lens of love and kindness and what that can do for you, right? And I get emotional talking about it.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
And it was life-changing. And I was able to knock that 60 months down to 19 because of the work that I started to do. I started to write essays. My cell was plastered with Post-it with little strips of paper that looked like Post-it notes that I would use toothpaste and stick notes to the wall. The first book that he sent me over was Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Yeah, it's a great book.
It's the most influential book I've ever read. Here's a guy who is a Jewish man who has had his entire life stolen from him. His family, his business, everything he owned was taken from him. And he's thrown into Auschwitz. And he's watching his people be tortured and abused and murdered and beat on horrendous levels. And he's smiling. And he's teaching everybody around him to smile. And we can't control our environment, but we can control our minds. And we don't have to be sad. We can smile because it's going to get better. You know, we can be happy and look for the future and remain positive. And it was such a profound thing for me to see, because I thought my life was filled with torture and horrendous acts, but it's nothing compared to this man, right? I look at it like, well, I don't have any room to complain, right? At least I wasn't going through that. And so I started to delve into every self-help book I could get my hands on. I would write essays. I studied the dictionary. I started to work with the libraries, and it just started to come as a realization. And through the methods, you'll have to read the book to get the in-depth stuff. I mean, I'm already going kind of in-depth, and I don't want to give the whole book away. It kind of defeats.
I pre-ordered it. I really want to read it. I pre-ordered it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I went through so much self-analysis and learned how to process emotion. And it all boils down to one simple thing. And that's be kind, right? Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. And when you live life through your primary objective is kindness, everything falls away. Right. Yeah. Forgiveness is an easy thing. It's easy. People, why do I forgive my Uncle Mike? Why do I forgive the men that molested me? Because at some point in their life, they were little boys. They were innocent little boys who I come to find out years later, my Uncle Mike was molested by his father his whole life. Right. I'm not justifying or excusing the perpetuation of the behavior. It's not a chain reaction. It doesn't have to go that way. But
you can understand.
I can empathize with this guy. Didn't know any better. He was 19 or 20 when he was molesting me. This kid grew up with this. This is what he knew. And so it's easy to forgive him because I have done horrendous things to people in my life. I have broken into homes. I have stolen priceless family heirlooms that can never be replaced. I may have destroyed families. Kids may not trust their parents' ability to protect them or keep them safe because some stranger broke into their house. A wife may have left her husband because he has the inability to protect his family. A father may have killed himself or may have lost everything he owns because he no longer has confidence in his ability to protect his family because of what I've done. And that destroyed me when I got to thinking about that. I mean, I went through depression, anxiety, stress, and all of it. And it came back down to, I don't have room to be feeling sad or depressed or about myself. I did it. I'm the one that committed the act. And so I don't have any way I can make amends for that. I can't go back and apologize. I don't even know who they are. So I can't go back and apologize to them. I can't make it right. And all I wanted was forgiveness. And so if I want someone to forgive me for what I've done, I have to be able to forgive someone for what they've done.
That's so powerful.
And so I do. I forgive everybody that's ever done me wrong. And I forgive myself for the self-sabotaging habits that I had, because self-forgiveness is huge as well, because we can't feel worthy of being loved. We can't feel worthy of having a successful life or a big, happy life if we don't feel worthy of receiving it. And so we have to forgive ourselves, and to forgive ourselves, we have to be kind to ourselves. Right. And so that's what this whole transformation was for me. It was a soul cleansing transformation over this 19 months. And it wasn't without its challenges, because when I was let out of the hole, the administration came to me to teach a class, and it was thinking for a change. And they said, we've seen the work that you've done. It's incredible. And we want to give you an opportunity. If you teach this class, we'll let you out of the hole early. So I studied the course material. I'm like, absolutely, let's do this. And they tricked me. I thought they were going to put me in general population to go teach this class. Instead, they took me to protective custody. And this is the class you're going to teach. And there was 20 men, 17 of which were pedophiles.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, is this a joke?
I know, it's the cosmic joke.
Right. You want me to teach this to these people? Like, come on now. God. You have just literally ruined any reputation that I have spent years building in prison is now shattered because I'm in protective custody, which is a no-no. You don't go there. And on top of it, you want me to teach men that rape children. And there was a moment, and this is the most pivotal moment, I think, of my life, because I had a choice. And this is why I realized that I had a choice. I could turn around, tell them to shove it up their ass, or I could look at the situation through a lens of kindness. Each one of these men at some point were a young baby boy who had nothing but love and kindness in their hearts. And at some point that was shattered. Somebody violated that in your life, and and for one reason or another, you justified your feeling of unworthiness to touch children, to commit. You have this propensity that attracts you to children, but you don't have to act on it. You chose to act on it. That's where choice came in. You don't have a choice with what you're attracted to. Let's be honest. If you told me tomorrow it's illegal to be attracted to women, I'm going to go to jail.
It's going to be hard for you.
I'm not going to be able to stop.
Yeah.
And so it's the same with pedophiles. Pedophiles have an innate attraction to children. The choice comes in when you act upon it, right?
Yes.
I mean, I like to drink, but I choose not to get drunk because it's going to screw my life up. So you don't have to act on these feelings that you have. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. I made a commitment to myself. I'm going to do it.
That was such a moment for you. That was such a moment.
It was a big moment. And I taught the class to great success. Every one of those men, they graduated the class. They all did better. And I like to hope, I don't know, I don't keep up with them, but I would like to think that maybe at least one of them stopped hurting kids. I hope. But it was very profound for me. And so I spent after I knew I had to get out of protective custody because I needed a parole. And I knew when I got out, the gang was going to come back, because I was in a very prolific gang for a very long time. And I was known as a shooter for this gang. I was the guy that they came to stab people when they wanted someone stabbed. And so I knew what was going to happen, but I also knew that I had to get out of protective custody because I had parole coming up. So I need to get transferred. Boom. They put me out in general population. And sure as hell, as soon as I touch the yard, here comes the gang. What up, bro? What up, bro? What up, bro? I'm like, guys, I love y'all, but I'm out. Right? I've taken an oath of nonviolence. I'm out. I'm retired. I don't want to do this anymore. Well, it doesn't work like that, bro. You know that.
That didn't go over big, right?
Right. Well, you know what I did for you. Think of what I'll do to you. right? Leave me alone, bro.
Yes.
I don't want to. And they didn't. So I was stabbed several times. I was beaten with
God.
locks in the chow hall. They pumpkin headed me where 4 of them came up with locks and I have scars all over my fingers because I covered my head up and they were just locking me. I was jumped multiple times. And this lasted for about a year. every week for about a year, I was somehow assaulted in some way, shape, or form. And finally, I was so adamant about sticking to my oath of nonviolence, but what am I going to do? Like, I can't continue to do this for the next 4 years.
Right.
So I went to the head of the gang and told him, like, listen, man, if you guys touch me again, dude, it's not going to be good. And so they did. They're not listening to my threats. And I committed the last act of assault that I've ever committed in my life. And it worked. They left me alone for the rest of my time. And I spent the rest of my time mentoring guys and doing groups and teaching. And then I dedicated my life to the service of others. And I got out in 2016, almost 7 years ago. And I've been on that path ever since.
All because of that guy.
All because of that guy.
Did he get out? Are you in touch with him?
No, he's doing a natural life. He was in prison.
Gosh.
He went to prison in 1984 for a murder. And he's never getting out. So,
but his
the
mindset,
ironic part is
it's amazing to me that
we're not friends.
Yeah.
Right? We're not friends. And he's a Circle 7 Mobite, right? They don't like white people, which shocked me. The last thing I ever said to this guy as I'm leaving the hole for the last time is, hey, stop calling me white boy. I hate it when you call me white boy. He said, all right, white boy, I'll see you around. And that's the last thing I ever said to the guy. And but he had told me before, don't you tell anybody about this, man, because they will kill me if they know that I'm helping you. And I see it now, right? Because as I gain and which is why I don't drop his name, right? Because as I gain in popularity with what I'm doing in the world, and the book and all this stuff, if somebody were to know who this was, they could go back and say, look what you did for this white boy.
Yeah,
this guy's out here.
Him. Yeah.
Look, you did that for him and you went against our bylaws. And then I couldn't sleep at night knowing that happened to that man.
Yeah, you're smart.
Yeah. And so, and plus I have a very horrible, and again, that's not the end, right? It's not like I got to walk out and then my life was peaches and cream, right? It wasn't peaches and rainbows just because I had myself together mentally and I was on a mission. It was difficult.
It's still hard, right?
It is. And I got out. I was married at the time to a lady that was just a really good friend of mine. And it didn't take long for us to realize that we're not in love. You want to go to work and come home, watch TV and eat dinner and go to sleep. I've been doing that for years. I don't want to sit down and watch TV. I need to go experience life. And so we were together maybe 6 months. And then I met a girl on a dating app, which these things were the biggest hurdle in my life to figure out. And then dating apps are just ridiculous. So I met this girl on Plenty of Fish. We met up and she love bombed me. And I mean, literally within 3 months, I was living in her house with her parents. And I'm like, you want me to move in with you? And it was a very nice area in a very nice town of Ohio. And next thing you know, she's pregnant. And I'm like, well, here's my opportunity to be a father. I missed out on the first 2 kids. They grew up with me in prison. Here's a chance. I'm going to be happy about this and go for it. And at the same time, I had started a band and the band was doing really well. I got signed to a label within 90 days and we are touring. We're doing shows. And then here comes a lot of attention, a lot of women and drugs and rock and roll and
that's hard.
And it's assault on the senses. I've just spent most of my life as a victim and in a can. And now all of a sudden I've got tons and tons of fans screaming my name. And I'm like, wow, this happened. And so I cheated on my girl, on my ex. And that was the first real relationship I had ever been in. And when she discovered that I had cheated on her, the sheer look of pain in her face, it changed me again. You're never too old to learn lessons. And this look of pain on her face, I will never cheat on somebody ever again, right? I would never cause that kind of pain to somebody.
It just hit you. Yeah.
And so we broke up, and it wasn't a good breakup. But then 3 months later, we got back together, which my fault, because I should have known that you can't get over that. As much as I've said it, you can't. When somebody cheats on you, it breaks a barrier of trust that you'll never be able to get over. So we get back together, and I landed a corporate gig, which is an incredible story. I determined that I needed to get out of music because it was just a very slippery slope, and I need to get a real job. So I go down to a staffing company, and I walk in to get a job, and I'm very open with my story in life because I try to inspire anybody that I come into contact with. And so I'm talking to Shelly, the staffer, and she says, "Wow, you have such an inspiring story. You should talk to the owner." So she sets it up, and I meet Mike Donato, the owner of the largest staffing company in Ohio. And in a half an hour interview, I walked out with a 6-figure career.
No way.
Yeah. This man said, "I'm going to pay you to talk to people." And I'm
Oh my
like,
God. What a smart man. Yeah.
And so in the staffing industry, I was a rock star, right? You could put me in any scenario and I will sell to anybody. I will get any client to sign on with this company, and I can put anybody to work because I don't just sit down and say, "What job you want?" I talk to you and I inspire you. I motivate you because I get to know you as a person, and this job you're going to get is going to change your life and blah, blah, blah. And so I did really well in this game. And I mean, I was making great money. Life was good. I'm like, this is what life is all about. I'm a dad. I'm successful. Everything's going good. And then out of nowhere, COVID.
Oh God, that's right.
I'm like, are you kidding me?
I know. You weren't even like doing it for that long, right?
I'm like, does this world hate me? Was that what's going on here? Am I not worthy of being happy in life? Because here I have gone through the fires of hell, and I have now the best possible position I could ever hope to be in, which was a limiting belief. I come to learn now that's a limiting belief.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And I accepted that this would be the best that I could ever have. And so I was heartbroken when COVID hit, and now you're laid off. The staffing industry was hit the hardest.
Yeah.
And so I go home and I'm like, well, now what do I do? And I'm laying there and I'm watching YouTube, and I see a guy named No Life Shack doing a YouTube reaction. And he's got like 2 million subscribers. And I'm like,
whoa,
if he can do that, I can do that. I know music. This guy ain't got nothing I don't have. I go down into my basement, got on my computer, and I recorded my first reaction video. And within 30 days, I had 2,000 or 3,000 subscribers.
So
within
cool.
60 days, I had 10,000. Within 90 days, I'm up in 20, 30,000 subscribers, and I'm making way more money than I ever made at staffing. And I'm like, this is insane. Right? Like, and now I have a global platform where people are going to listen. So immediately I jumped into motivation. Let's start a story. Let's start a show. We're going to do a podcast. We're going to do a vlog, whatever you want to call it. Let's do this. I want to inspire y'all. I want to tell you an inspiring story about my life and show you how you can be happy no matter what the world throws at you. You can choose to lay down and sulk in your defeat, or you can choose to get up, pivot, and adapt and be happy and proceed forward. And so one of my co-hosts on an old show that I had suggested Reiki. And I'm not into the spiritual stuff, right? Yeah. I'm not. You want me to believe in a ghost? Show me a ghost. I will then believe in a ghost. Until you show me one. Same thing with aliens. I'll believe in an alien as soon as you show it to me. And so I signed up for this Reiki. He's like, I'm going to put you in touch with my Reiki master. I want you to go do one for the show. Go do it, authentically go through it, and then we'll talk about it on the show. Fine, I'm in. So I go to this Reiki session, and this girl told me everything that was in my mind. I'm unhappy in my relationship. I know I'm unhappy. The only reason I'm staying with this girl that I got back together with is because I know that she's going to take my son if I break up with her. We are unhappy. I am not living an authentic life. I am telling everybody how to live an authentic life, and I'm not doing it. And I was mind blown. I'm like, how do you know that? She's like, it's Reiki. I'm like, I don't give a what you call it. How did you figure that out?
But
okay,
that is amazing. But I've heard that there's good ones and there's, not so good
Well,
ones.
that was my only one. So I
Yeah,
have
you
to,
got a good
I
one.
have to,
Yeah.
I have to give it a good feedback. So I immediately went home and I left her. Immediately, I went home and,
Wow.
I mean, I didn't pay attention to the fact that it was, 8 days before Christmas. I'm not looking
Whoops.
at that. I relieved all of this stress that I'd been building up over the last couple of years. This girl took it off of my shoulders. And why am I going to go back into an environment that's just going to start putting it back on? I'm not happy. So let's sit down like adults. I don't want to be with you anymore. I don't want to be in this relationship. And she went nuclear.
Oh,
Right?
yep.
Now, come to find out, she was a closet narcissist. She's racist. She is anti-trans, anti-gay, far right, just insane.
Oh my God.
And I lost everything. I was standing homeless December 12th, 2020, in nothing but shorts. I went out to get in my car to leave because I'm like, you are insanity, and I am leaving before I go to jail, because that's how it always ends up. So I go outside, get in the car. She gets in the car, punches me, grab my car keys, goes back in, locks the door. 3 different attempts. I've had officers 3 different times from the police department coming down. She will not give me the keys back. I'm like, so what am I supposed to do? This is my house. I pay for this. My car. And I'm standing here in shorts and a sweatshirt. And it's, if you didn't notice, it's December 12th in Ohio.
It's freezing.
I'm freezing. What am I supposed to do? There's nothing you can do. You can't go back in the house. We can't let you in. Shouldn't have to let you in. So I'm just stuck. And so I had a buddy that called and said, dude, I seen the post that she put out. I bought you a plane ticket to Florida. Come down here and just get away for a minute.
Oh.
I was like, well, that's a blessing. So I stayed the night at a buddy's house. Morning, got up, flew down to Florida. And all my stuff is gone. This girl went out and trashed my car and had it impounded, said it was abandoned, destroyed all my clothes, destroyed all my stuff. I'm literally homeless.
That's so painful.
I'm like,
whoa.
And so here's an opportunity, because I always talk about never giving up. No matter what happens, don't give up. Be kind, have faith, believe in yourself, move forward always. And so now is a perfect opportunity for me to show you what I'm talking about. I went down to a dealership, had my friend drop me off at the dealership, and I walked in and I walked out with a vehicle. Right. And I'm taking pictures and showing everybody this the whole time. This is how you do it. Let's make this happen. Got a car and started to grind right from there, grind my way back up. Within a couple of months, I got my own condo. I got a car. I'm working on trying to see my son. She's being horrible. Now my house is getting broken into. My car's getting trashed. Things are happening because she's not happy. And at that time, my booking agent, prior to that, I woke up at 3:00 in the morning with a phone call from my moderator that said, your channel's gone. And so I looked up, like, what's happening? At this point, I got 50,000 subscribers. Well, my ex and some of her little hooligans hacked into my YouTube channel because my computer was still at her house.
Oh my God.
And they uploaded porn at 3 a.m. and YouTube deleted my YouTube channel.
Oh my God.
And that was my only.
They knew how to do that. That's horrible.
I mean, it was still logged in on my laptop. All they had to do was pop the laptop and
horrible.
And so now my channel's gone. And my booking agent comes in and says, but I just got you booked on this podcast from England. This girl from England has a podcast called Boot Camp for the Mind and Soul. And I think you'd be a really good fit on it. Whatever. Fine. Let's do this. So I had a new setup and I get on with Claire Rogers, and it was another moment. I fell in love with this woman in the duration of the podcast. And we are together today, and we are out here, and she was in England. I was in Cleveland. It was the most authentic conversation I've ever had in my life.
Whoa.
She was actually the first person I had ever told about being raped in prison to. I had not really felt comfortable with that before. And I felt so at ease with her, and I dumped all of it on her. And for the first time in my life, I felt like somebody saw me, right? And accepted me for who I am.
Beautiful.
And she was going through a horrible divorce at the same time. And we were just there for each other. She was still in lockdown in London. They were really harsh on the lockdowns in London.
Yeah.
And so every day for 5 or 6 hours a day, her and I were on FaceTime together. And I had such a busy life. I don't know where I got that 5 or 6 hours a day.
But you did.
I just all day. Hey, and we're just all day. And then eventually she's like, I'm coming. Let's be together. I'm going to come to the United States. And I said, let's go. She said, let's go to Palm Springs. I said, I hate Florida. She said, it's in California. Oh, okay. Well, in that case, I'm down. And yeah, I got on my bike and nothing like one final shot from the world to try to test you, right? I get on my motorcycle. I have my cats. I have all my stuff. I give my condo to this young homeless kid. I just give him the whole condo. Here you go. Here's a shot at life. Go for it. And I pack some bags on my motorcycle and I leave. I'm going to drive my bike across country, cleanse my soul, and go meet my starseed, my soulmate in California. And I made it to Cincinnati, and at midnight, I crashed my bike.
No.
There's a sudden pivot off the highway. I didn't want to be on the highway anyway. I'm trying to come off. And at about 35 miles an hour, right into a curb, did some cartwheels, and I'm laying there on the ground like, you got to be kidding me. Like, what, man? What else is life going to throw at me? Like, can I catch a break?
That's a horrible feeling. Yeah.
And again, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this is a test. It's just a test.
Yeah.
It's just a test because you cannot expect to receive the life that you want if you are not worthy of receiving it. If you are not ready to receive it, this is why lottery winners win millions of dollars and end up broke and dead. Yeah. And broke or dead because you're not ready to receive that kind of wealth.
There's a talk about the frequency level, right? They're not at that level. They're not ready to. That's such a good point. Yeah.
And so I took it as the universe is saying, you still have 2 cats and all your car and all your stuff back there. You're not leaving. Commit to it.
Oh.
So, okay. Call my buddy. If you want this motorcycle, you can have it. Just a dented rim. Wasn't even that bad. In fact, he's been riding it now for 2 years and I've been irritated because I don't have a motorcycle. And I went back and I got my car and all my stuff and I committed to the trip. And I went across the country and I literally, every state that I hit, I felt my chest getting lighter, right? It was the hardest decision I've ever had to make because it meant walking away from my son, who is the most beautiful child I've ever seen. And I mean, I worship this kid, but I know that this is not going to end well. I'm either going to end up dead or in prison, right? Because this woman is insane. And
he won't let you have anything to do with it.
And so I'm each state, I'm feeling lighter and lighter. Like I'm not running from anything. I'm going to something.
You're running to something.
I'm running to something my destiny.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, as if it wasn't like, excuse my language, if it wasn't like a sign from the gods that was like, you made the right decision. When I got here, almost to the day, we were watching a news article and saw a father in Texas who was trying to just pick his son up at 3:00, like he was supposed to be picking him up at 3, and mom was being a butthead about it. And mom's boyfriend came out and shot him with a shotgun in front of the child. And this man, and I took that as a sign, like, yes, I made the right decision. I made the right choice.
Yeah.
And since that moment, Claire and I have spent every day of our lives trying to make the world a better place. Her and I are diametrical opposites. I am loud, heavy, big, hard, right? I'm all over them. And she's this gentle little blonde, soft bunny that does, she's an empath. She does not like loud stuff. She can't watch action movies or horror movies because she takes that in, right? When she sees something bad, and it'll put her down for a day. But at our core, we have the same core principles: kindness, compassion, and authenticity. And there has not been a day that we haven't been madly in love, and have done our best to try to make the world a better place. And so now that I'm in that mental space where I feel like my life is finally in a good balance, I'm able to focus on what I want to do with my life. Yes. And what that is educate and teach people how to overcome anything. And it all boils down to 2 simple things: kindness and choice. And if you put those 2 together, choose kindness every time, and your life will be beautiful. Right. And so now I'm a reentry coach with the Anti-Recidivism Coalition in Los Angeles. I mentor the juveniles at the Indio Juvenile Facility. I work with the Riverside County Probation Department to institute my core teaching program. I have my own mindset coaching company, and we have a 12-week, 8-module personal development program that we are getting instituted into the juvenile facilities.
That's amazing.
And it's incredible how, and it's only been 2 years,
Yeah.
right? It's incredible how the world and the universe will respond to you and manifest your desires when you live authentically, when you believe in yourself and you believe what you're doing and you see the world through the lens of love and kindness.
It's like you get the blocks out of the way and then it all comes in. It's so true.
That's
so true. And I'm so struck with what you do, because I know that those juveniles, they believe you. You know, they don't
100%.
just think, oh, you're such a little, you know, you're another adult telling me crap.
100%.
They believe you. They know you're the real thing because you've been through some stuff.
My teammates that I go in with, one is retired military. Well, 2 are retired military. One's a correction officer and one's a former cop. And they're not going to relate to you guys as much. But you instantly go to God. Right. And I love Jesus. Right. I think Jesus was an incredible man. I have Joshua 24:15 tattooed on my face. I have the Southern Cross tattooed on my face. I love Jesus. I respect Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ was a man that believed in his faith and gave his life up for it and took a lot of torture because of that. That being said, I'm not a Christian. I follow the path of the Odinists of the Vikings because I'm Danish. And so I follow my ancestral line. Because I believe that people need spirituality. It doesn't matter what you believe in. We all are talking to and about the same entity. We just call them something different.
I always think that too. And I try to be open and tell people, you know, ask God or the universe or source or whatever you call it. I got to say something. I was told years ago by a friend of mine who is very spiritually connected. She said sometimes strangers can talk to you and tell you something that you really need to hear. And she believed that it was God talking through that person. And I feel like God was talking through your friend. I really do. I feel, and sometimes it seems even more true because it was so unlikely, you know, that he would take that time, that he would help you. He was used by God. And I had something happen to me recently. I always kind of believed this, but I won't go into detail, but I had something happen to me recently where I was truly used by God to help a woman. And there were a million things that I was set up with. Like, she only spoke French, a little bit of Spanish. I speak French. There was this huge Walmart. She was at one of the exits. I came out that door. There were like 6 doors that I could have come out of. Right. I bought too many snacks. We were on vacation. I kept saying to myself, why am I buying all these snacks? I insisted to my husband and my son that I had to go right then. Didn't make any sense. They were going to this little water thing. And they're like, why are you going now? I said, well, I just want to get it over with. I was used by God. I gave her so, and also the weirdest part was she had a little, very sad little scrawled note, and it was like, I'm from Moldavia, you know, we're trying to get citizenship, we're living with our 4 children, can you help us? And I was just not thinking, and I said, I don't have any money, I'm sorry, because I don't carry money. And as I walk away, and I have all this food, right, as I walk away, I hear my mother, and she's been gone for 21 years. I hear her voice in my head. It's very clearly her, and she's like, okay, you don't have money, but you have food. And it was almost like, you know, it's like, duh. And I just went, oh my God. And I turned around and I went back to her and I said in French, and my French is pathetic. It's like so funny that it happened, but it was enough for her to understand. And, you know, when you speak to someone in a language that they know, it's just this closeness, you know, this comfort. And she felt so comforted. I hugged her in the end. I just felt like, oh my God, you know, how in the world? I just feel like things like what happened to you, sometimes they don't make any sense. And he didn't want you telling anyone. And he probably doesn't like white boys, but for some reason, God used him for you. And look what you've done with that.
And it's funny because one of the practices that he taught me about forgiveness was because I went through, after reading a particular book, I hated myself. I was like, I am a world-class piece of shit for the things that I've done to these people. And I have no way to make it right. And he challenged me to write it down, write apology letters to as many people as I could think of, and then flush it. Give it to God. God will take it and make sure that they know it. If you put sincerity into it, God will deliver it.
Oh, this man, that's so beautiful.
I was like, okay. And it worked, right? And it did. I mean, it was a process. It took me a while, but I did it. And it was so therapeutic for me because I believed that my heartfelt sense of remorse was delivered, right? I felt that. And so it made sense for me. I don't care what you call them, him, her, them, they. I don't care what you call them.
I'm the same way. I
have a higher power. Believe
there's a connection, right? Whatever you want to call it, there's a connection. So the arc of your life is just amazing, and you know that. But I'm amazed that you were able to grow out of. I was just so hurt as a mother thinking about you at that young age. People kept treating you like an object, and then you get to prison, and they do that too. And you were able somehow to turn that around. And I'm so glad you're doing what you're doing, because I know you're inspiring people. I did listen to, is it the Daily something?
The Morning Choice?
The Morning Choice. Oh, not Daily. The Morning Choice. And I was just like, this guy, what you're putting out in the world is so great. And I know that you're helping tons of people. Just trying to
give it out to people. Yeah. The whole point for that was it takes 66 days to make a habit.
Yeah.
So let's go. I'm going to go every day with you in the month of July to give you the best underdog I can. Every morning, develop these habits. Every morning, have a routine. It takes just as much energy to type into your browser good, positive news as it does to type in CNN or Fox News or
definitely
any of these other mainstream news medias, which all they do is glorify sadness and tragedy. Look up something positive and watch the effect that it has on you, because your mind works just like your body works. If you eat crap food, you're going to have a crap body. If you ingest crap content, you're going to have a crap mindset. But if you make a habit of ingesting positive motivational stuff every morning, your whole day is going to be inspiring. Right. While I'm hearing people out here talking about, did you see the new bill that they banned on women and the new anti-trans gay law? And I'm like, no, I didn't see that. But here's what I saw. Did you know that they are now employing grandmas in Zimbabwe and putting them on park benches to be therapists to people? Did you know there's a 12-year-old who's come up with an amazing way to purify water for people in India? Right. I'm filled with positivity. So I'm always happy. Yeah. People are always like, why are you always happy? Because I ingest nothing but happiness.
Yeah.
I choose my surroundings.
Yeah.
I surround myself with successful, happy, positive people. I don't allow unhappy and unsuccessful people in my life. Right. And I'm not mean about it. I'm kind. I have boundaries, and I adhere to my boundaries.
And people I've noticed they pull away a little anyway when you start to really follow that. You know,
100%.
They're not comfortable with it, and that's fine. I love them still. You know, I just don't.
They do that because
close relationship.
Take away their excuse. You take away their excuse to continue living anything less than a happy life.
It's true,
right? Because a lot of people are comfortable living in their misery because they know what to expect. Right. It's scary stepping outside of your comfort zone because you don't know what to expect. But when you, for instance, if you have a job for 20 years that you hate, you know what's coming. You know what's coming to work, and you accept it. You become content bearing this little bit of misery in your life, not realizing that little bit of misery that you're accepting is the contributing catalyst that is the entire misery of your life. Right. Again, if you don't like your job, quit. If you don't like where you live, move. Right. If you're not happy in your relationship, leave.
That's a really good point.
The biggest problem is fear. People, and it's fear of other people's judgments. That's the biggest
big time
blockage to anything. I'm afraid my kids won't be happy if I move them to a new state. They're kids. They'll get over it.
Yeah.
Right. My parents won't be happy if I quit my job. So what? Your parents don't live your life. They're not you. Your parents have their own life. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Again, I drink Chuck Norris juice every morning, which is an incredible thing I found. It's filled with ashwagandha root and all this really healthy stuff. It's fantastic. But if I try to give you some of this, it's not going to work because the cup is empty, right? I have to fill this cup up in order to help give you some. I cannot serve from an empty cup. People think that self-care is selfishness, and it's not. You have to put yourself first. I have to make sure that I am at optimal levels so that I can be the best for everybody around me. I cannot serve from an empty cup. So I have to take care of me so that I can take care of everybody else.
Fantastic. I love it. One of my favorite books is this little tiny slim volume. It's from a while ago. I was sad when I looked up the author because he died in the last couple of years. But I read this when I was really young. And I mean, I have this habit of just having books like fall off the shelf in the bookstore, or I can't tell you how I found it, that kind of thing. And it's just this tiny little book. It's got pictures in it, which makes it so easy to read. And it's called Love is Letting Go of Fear. And the whole concept is Dr. Gerald Jampolsky. The whole concept is you can't feel both of those at the same time. You can't feel love and fear at the same time. And this just blew my young mind. And it said, you can choose love. When you have a situation where someone's cruel to you, you can see it for what it is. It's fear. It's something in them. And I've literally done this when when I'm not perfect, but when I feel like I can. And it transforms the whole interaction.
If you just remember that hurt people hurt people.
Exactly. And it's so beautiful that it's really like when you love yourself, you take that time to fill your cup, then you can give love to others. And then you're on that love frequency, and I remember my mother took a religion course and she said, did you know they mention love in the book of John, like 250 times? Like that's what Jesus was about, and people don't talk about that now, right? They talk about everything else. Like, I don't even want to get into it, but anyway, it's love. It's love.
Well, and that's it. If, because I believe firmly that, and I don't even want to say it's a belief or an opinion. If you look at any child under the age of 2, they are pure love, pure kindness. And you wonder why babies laugh all the time.
Yeah.
They're just filled with love and kindness. They don't know anything else until it's broken, until it gets shattered.
Yeah.
That's all they are, is kind. And if you can learn to look at life through the lens of kindness, that's it. Life is so joyful. It's so happy. There's so much beauty in the world. And yet we focus on the negative because we have a lack of fulfillment in ourselves. There's something in our life that is lacking. And it's safer and easier to accept it than it is to challenge it.
So true. Yeah.
And there's I read one of the most amazing statements that I've ever read in my life. If you do the things that are easy, your life will be hard. If you do the things that are hard, your life will be easy.
That's so true.
And it's so true, because it's easy to be lazy. It's easy to not read. It's easy to not eat healthy. It's easy to argue. It's easy to condemn people. It's easy to be mean. These things are easy. And if you do those things, your health sucks, your social life sucks, your finances suck, everything sucks because you're doing all the easy stuff. But if you work out, if you eat right, if you practice kindness, if you practice magnanimity, if you go out and do kind things for people, your life becomes so much easier. It might be hard to start it, but then your life gets so easy.
It changes.
Right? Do the hard things now, and life becomes easy. Right? My life is so freaking happy and fulfilled. It's not funny.
I'm so glad to hear that.
I never thought that I would actually make it to this stage in my life. Right? There was a time in my life I thought I was literally just here for some sick, sadistic torture method of some crazy god somewhere. And I now know it was just a matter of perspective. It was just, I was choosing that life. And you don't have to. Yep. You can start right now. And for anybody that's listening, start right now. You don't have, there's no steps. There's no magical key. There are no 4 secret tomes. There's no magical stairways. There's none of these systems. That is that's designed to make the speaker money or the author money. That's them. They're trying to use logical numbers to trick your mind into thinking, well, if I take these 7 steps, I will unlock the keys to happiness. It's one thing. Be kind, period. In every aspect of your life, be kind. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others. And kindness is love. Kindness is forgiveness. Kindness is charity.
It's everything. Yeah.
Be kind. That's it. Just be kind.
Well, I can't thank you enough for coming on. I just feel very uplifted by you and your story. And I know that whoever listens to this will feel that too.
Thank you so much. It was such a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, same here.
Absolutely phenomenal, Lynn.
But you know what? I knew it would be. I could just tell by reading all this stuff about you, and keep doing what you're doing. We're all inspired by it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. You are amazing.
Thank you, Sonny Von Cleveland, so much. I enjoyed our talk. I enjoyed listening to it as I edited, which this is the first interview I've ever done where I did not have to change one thing. You're just such a wonderful speaker, and I enjoyed hearing your story so much. And I think it's really funny that I turned off the interview before I recorded me saying back to you that you're amazing. And I thank you so much for sharing with us. And I think I kind of knew your story, but the details really amazed me. And I'll tell you what I'm left with. I'm left with this feeling that you are living your purpose and you're helping so many people. And I'm very impressed with how humble you are, because when you presented the idea that you could be a guest, I mean, you're kind of a big deal for my little podcast, but you never gave off that air of being a big deal. And I know my listeners will love hearing this story, not just love it, but will learn from it, feel inspired by it. I think a lot of people can feel inspired to make changes. Like you said, you can start today. You can start right now. And I think I'm just so glad that our paths crossed and that you shared with us. And I wish you all the best. And I'm so happy to present you guys with Sonny. And I really appreciate the time he took. So have a great day, guys. I'll see you for the next episode.